Hello, and welcome to this brand new podcast. It's going to be about me and some of my friends. I hope whoever's listening is not, too offended by what we say. Not that we're going to say anything offensive, but
All right,
I just want to introduce
here we go.
I just want to introduce some of the people that are going to be on this podcast. We're going to be the four main hosts on this show. Let's just go around the room and start talking about ourselves. So I'm Tanner. I am a physics major, and I really like to play video games on my spare time. I consider myself somewhat of an artist. I really like getting into coffee, like specialty coffee. That's probably one of my biggest side hobbies. My brother got me into it a few years back. And although I'm pursuing physics, I think one of my dream jobs I would love to get is going into VR and AR development. Maybe at like Apple or Facebook or something, because I really feel there's a huge potential in that industry. But that's pretty much me.
Interesting. I feel like this podcast is going to be, pouring your heart out a lot of the time because I didn't know that. I've known you for I don't know how many years. I've never heard that from you. What the heck?
Yeah, that's some bullshit. What the fuck, Tanner?
He's pulling out all the stops now.
I'm too nervous to start going into it because I'm already on this career path, and
Totally.
it seems so different to try to go into like computer science.
Yeah. Well, I'm Anthony. You can call me Tasty Tony. I am also a college student studying in engineering in my last year. Don't really know exactly 100% where I want to go after this. Right on the side, though, I like to, play video games. I'm probably the person who will know the most about board games out of anyone you will hear about in your life. It's my biggest hobby. I probably have a huge collection of that. For fun, I like to just hang out, watch some different shows. I've been getting into just like content creation in general lately. But yeah, so hopefully we'll see where that goes.
All right. My name is John. You can call me John. And I am into art and music as well. I am in college as well, majoring currently in music, but undecided. Trying to figure that out still. But I do make music at home in my free time. And other than that, I work at a coffee shop where Tanner does not get the plug.
No. I think I've gotten one bag of coffee from Jenna. Not even you.
Oh, I'm sorry. But she does work at a reserve, so she can get you some good roasts compared to my corporate branded beans.
Well, I guess it's my turn. I'm Jacob. Call me Tomato. I'm all about the anime and the video games. I do a lot of programming on the side, so learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Java. Not trying to flex or anything, but I'm probably like the smartest programmer you know. That's all I'm gonna say.
Nice. Wow. Well, that's awesome. And I think right here is probably where we would roll the intro. Dang, but what an intro is that, Tanner? Tanner, you made that intro.
Mad, round of applause, Tanner. Just such an amazing intro.
Super hype. Gets me ready. Yeah, what was the motivation behind that intro? How'd you take care of that? Because we were talking about, we possibly need an intro, for the podcast, and then a couple days go by, and Tanner's like, all right, well, I have something drafted up. What do you think of it? And I'm like, what the heck? Where did this come from?
Yeah, so a while back, I have to commute to my school. It's about maybe like a 30-minute commute. I have to drive to a train, and then I take the train for 30 minutes. So on that train, I have a lot of free time when I'm not doing homework. And I discovered a website that allows you to make kind of like chiptunes and 8-bit music. And so I spent probably a good month and a half to 2 months just playing around on this website, creating music. And it was one of the old files I had on my computer. And I was like, oh, I forgot. I named this file theme song. So I went back in and I threw it into Adobe Premiere and then just messed around with it until I got a short enough version and threw some cool effects in there, like the slowing up and speeding down stuff. But yeah, that's probably a big part of my personality is just making music on my free time. But it kind of eludes me for months, and then I'll get back into it for like 4 or 5 months, and then I'll drop it for another 6.
Like that's with everything in everyone's life. You start something for a few months, and you just drop it.
Yeah,
Magic the Gathering for me.
Are you still into Magic right now, John?
On the tail end of not playing. The new set that just came out, I was kind of eyeballing it and like, I should get back in. But with COVID and everything, I can't just go play at like a local game store or anything. But yeah, it's a favorite pastime of mine. Played with
COVID. This stuff is pretty crazy. I can't believe we've been in it for almost a year.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're almost on the tail end of it. If these vaccines go out fast enough, I'm sure we'll all be able to do this in person one day pretty soon.
What's something you want to do once COVID's done? Like, what's something either that you didn't get to do that you had planned, or just something the first thing you want to do, or the first major thing, a post-COVID life or world, I should say.
Well, let me. As someone who's always spent a lot of time inside, now I actually do want to spend time outside with how much time I've been spending inside. So,
COVID's been great for you.
I mean, honestly, like not a big lifestyle change, but now I don't. It's like not having the option makes me want to go outside. Yeah, that's I guess the main thing. Honestly, being able to hang out with friends, it's also something that's just like, man, like can't meet up as much, and kind of want to murder your roommate sometimes, but you kind of have to deal with it.
Hang out with friends and go see live concerts, because that would be nice to do again.
Wait, what do you mean, John? You can still go to those? I hear they're still doing live concerts you could go to. Just go do one of those,
Well, you have to sit in a car, but a lot of the tickets I had bought in shows for have not planned anything yet, so still waiting. But yeah, waiting patiently to go see some of the bands that I want to see. King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard was one that I was super excited for.
A cool thing about having a VR headset is that, well, if I used it, I could go to like virtual movies or concerts. I could even hang out with people in virtual reality, and yet I don't, because I'm shy and I get weird online and I have trouble talking to people. Maybe that's just a personality trait, because I can't talk to people in person either. But anyway, a really cool thing about VR these days is that it's opening up so much of the God, I don't know how to say this. It's opening up so much opportunity for people to be able to experience things that they normally can't. Like, I am not really a concert going person, but in VR, I could just go check it out whenever I want, and it's pretty much free. Sometimes you have to pay a few dollars, which is really cool. But I think in these times, we've seen an explosion of these VR and AR kind of implements into our lives, just because we're stuck at home so much.
Man, that's just interesting, that the idea of that, you could just do everything, virtual. Is there a point where that becomes too far, where it's too much, because with VR, I agree that there's just so much untapped potential for it, whether it's video games or just real life events. But how much is too far? Talking about VR, even porn, things like that. How much, where does it go too far?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea of the book Ready Player One, right? It's like people end up spending their whole life in VR or playing the game that they want to play, and then just that's their life. They got their computer at home and they'd rather spend their time online than experiencing life as a human outdoors.
I mean, I feel like there's no alternative to the real life. It's like I said, as someone who spends a lot of time inside, I have to go outside eventually, and it's just like, or else I'll actually go crazy. And I feel like a lot of people do feel the same way, where it's just like you really need that actual human interaction. Like, sure, VR might seem like a good alternative, but it's really not. Like, it's an interesting thing, but it's like you cannot beat like, oof, I'm touching you right now. I could smack the shit out of you right now if you're pissing me off, you know? That's something VR just can't replicate.
What happens when technology advances to the point where you can't distinguish between VR and like augmented reality with real life?
Well, that's like a huge, like, that could lead into a big like morality debate, like where, how far is too far, you know? And it's been talked about for like years and years. This technology has been advancing. It's like, where's this point where we like have to draw the line at like what like this should be able to do?
Mm-hmm. I don't know
A
if
good
we're close
example
enough.
of that is actually Ready Player 2. It just came out. It's a sequel to Ready Player 1.
Yeah.
And they actually address this question. And it's very interesting. I'm not going to get into the book because I don't want to spoil it. But basically, a brand new type of technology comes out for the Oasis and VR as a whole. And I feel like a lot of companies these days are actually working towards these like neural networking devices.
Right.
Like Elon Musk has been talking about this
Yeah,
for how many years now?
Neuralink, yeah.
All right, yeah, and he was talking about it, and it's also goes off of that like one episode of Black Mirror or just Black Mirror in general. There's a lot of episodes where they kind of touch on this, neuro link that people can augment into them.
Yeah, I feel like right now we're still pretty far off from actually getting real virtual reality. That sounds weird to say, but like full immersion, taste, smell, touch. We're already getting into the realm of these like smell and touch. Like people actually have different devices that you can put in your room that release different smells when you're near them in VR games. So you can actually smell.
That's weird.
Very kind of niche market right now, but it's happening. Yeah. And people have even like developed full body vibration suits and hot and cold. A lot of these are still experimental, but at least like rumble packs that like you literally wear like all over your body, you can now like feel at least a rumble, maybe not a full touch. Yeah, so I think it will inevitably happen, and like it's called the singularity when it does. If you've ever heard of that term.
Would you guys sign up for Neuralink, like beta testing?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah, I would. Honestly, like it doesn't scare me that much. I mean, it does. I know there's probably are going to be risks, but as long as it's non-invasive, I think I'll definitely get it. When it comes to invasive technology like under skin and implants to the brain, maybe I'll wait a few years before it gets perfected.
Wait until it's
but as long as it's
hack-proof.
non-invasive, I think it's totally worth it.
So like, what are you thinking of exactly then as non-invasive? Like what would you want to get? Yeah, explain.
Like something that, like, imagine having a pair of glasses or something. Like Apple is trying to develop some AR glasses that basically have your phone UI in your glasses as a hologram. And so imagine if that had neural technology. You don't even have to reach in and grab your phone anymore. You can just talk to your glasses and tell it what to do. Say like, oh, I want to go to the supermarket, pull up some directions, and then automatically you get directed towards the nearest supermarket without having to do anything.
Like,
I think that would be incredible.
Like Spider-Man Far From Home. What's the set of glasses?
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool. I don't know, but it's like without getting into the whole under your skin, like brain implant sort of scenario, I feel like the most it'll be able to do, if you're just like attaching something that you can use to like control technology, it's like, hey, turn on the oven set it to 350, or like turn on the shower, and you have a smart shower or something that turns on. I don't see many practical applications on like outside of the home, or like I guess maybe like you could go shopping and be like, hey, use my credit card at this pay station and then pay. It's weird.
I have something a little off topic with this that kind of is similar, but it's an idea I've had, and I feel like it's very can be controversial. But I'll throw it out here because it seems like the right space to do it at. So I think that our overall government, it's like people, considering the times, people have a lot of issues with it. It's like, especially with Biden just being put in office like a couple of days ago, and everyone's issues with Trump and every president, I guess, and just overall view of the government. I feel like it may be better to have like an AI run the government instead of people,
I know. I
because
see
I
where you're
feel
going.
like there's no like a lot of problems with our government is it's run like people with agendas and like their own self-interest at the end of the day, and they don't I'm not saying this about everyone, but it's like I feel like for some people the common good isn't at the forefront of their mind, you
But
know.
I have a question for you. We struggle with Google search being, biased. How do you create an AI that's not biased towards any specific type of people or, class? How do you make something that can
Inherently like
fairly?
you can't make something that's perfect from imperfection. Like us as people, we're not perfect, so it's like it's nearly impossible for us to make something that will be perfect. There's obviously going to be bias, but it's like within like the realm of control, and it's like our understanding. And I feel like if everyone understood what it can do, because it's like a program like on the surface won't really have like all these like hidden agendas and like all the and all this stuff that kind of make like no one trusts politicians. It's like, and I feel like that's a problem for people who are running the country, that everyone's like, I don't know, man, that person it's kind of sketching me out. But I know it's kind of like a weird idea,
No, I don't
and
think
it's
it's a
like
weird
just something
idea.
I've been like toying around with. But yeah, just want to
Have you
throw that
seen
out there.
Wall-E?
I love Wall-E.
Oh,
Just watch that like
Wally's
month ago.
amazing.
robotic
But Jacob,
captain
I have
of
a
the ship?
question.
Yeah.
So, you said people don't trust politicians.
Yeah.
Okay, how would putting an AI software that runs the government be any different? If anything, AI software has a much more hidden agenda than any person. Because think about this. People are struggling, kind of like what John was saying. People are struggling with basic AI implementation into our daily life, like data gathering, data mining, which is, I guess, the same thing. But anyway, but like people have a hard time with ads being thrown at them for things that they like, and I don't mind that, to be honest.
But
Like,
it's
I don't
uncomfortable
care
to
about, like,
some degree,
personalized
I'd
ads.
say.
Yeah, like it's entering that like uncanny valley, but at the same time, or maybe not even the uncanny valley, but just like people don't like the idea of having these robots that are seemingly like in their lives. So like, why would an AI government be better than a personal government?
I think people would still, be untrustworthy. Not everyone. I think there will still be people who are like, this makes more sense. And then there's still going to be people who say it doesn't make more sense. It's like, I don't trust that it has my interests in,
Like what to say off that is, I feel like it's much more understanding if you could create like a special AI that's able to like have a line of reasoning and able to output or display its line of reasoning. It's like if it wants to create like a new policy, it's like, okay, due to the factors of X, Y, and Z, this is the best kind of
Best solution.
possibility that will lead. And honestly, I feel like it's not going to be an instant. I don't think the best thing would be an instant, like, okay, human government, AI government. If anything, it should be like, okay, like we create an AI and then like, we continue about our daily business. And then as the AI starts making these like predictions on what to do, sometimes we'll be like, okay, we'll try that out. And other times we don't. And then slowly, like our trust in this kind of like system where it's like, okay, this AI is starting to make these decisions better than most people can. It's like 40, 50 years ago that people like didn't think an AI could like beat the grandmaster at chess, but like here we are, where like any program could do it. So it's like technology could definitely reach that point where like it could understand all these complex things. But I feel like government is such like a very like abstract thing where it's like all these different things. Like it would take like decades, if not centuries, for like our technology to reach that point. But it's also like something worth keeping in mind, just because it's like computers are much more powerful than us, but they don't have that flexibility. But it's also like they could definitely like, do more than we can in a sense,
All right, get to work, Jacob. I want to see it in 20 years.
All right, I got you. I'm starting now.
Yeah,
I see where you're coming from.
We could change topics in in a second, but I have one more thing to say. Is that like I just don't see any form of AI being in government for a long time, because are you all familiar with the robot Sophia by Hansen Laboratory?
Oh yeah. That's
hey, she looks
I am
weird.
not. What is that?
So it is a AI created by this laboratory that is meant to emulate human behavior. She has like all these crazy motor muscles in her face to emulate all these facial expressions, which are freaking creepy, by the way, because they don't have it right yet, but they're getting really close. And she is technically an AI. Like you can have a somewhat of a conversation with her. Her responses are like pretty bad, but at the same time, the last update we've had on her was like it's been a while, or at least that I've checked. And even from this little incident of these, she's like the newest robot. There was another one that came out a few years back that was like less intelligent. And there's a video of her and the older one having a conversation, and it's this like jumble of words as if you had like two like Google Translates talking to each other. The conversation made absolutely no sense, but the internet exploded because they were like, these governments are talking in a secret language. The robots are talking in a secret language. They're planning to overthrow the government. They're like connecting through this like crazy hive mind, and they're gonna exploit, the singularity's already happened, and they're already smarter than humans. And it was like, they're just dumb robots. Like they have no idea. But the problem is that anyway, we'll come back. But yeah, so like people freaked out about this, and this is recent. So I do not see any like AI implementation into what governs.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it would
yet.
be like decades, if not centuries, for people to be comfortable with this idea. But it's like, yeah, I get it. It's like definitely people are very like movies like The Terminator really strike fear in the hearts of many.
Right.
Yeah. When the machines look like humans well enough to where they can't tell, I don't think people will think twice if a politician comes on stage and is like, we do this, it makes the most sense, and everyone goes, yeah, I agree. And then, AI is then theoretically governing. The one thing you said, though, Tanner, reminded me of an idea. I don't remember if we had it in like high school or whatever. I remember sharing it with you, or you sharing it with me. I just remembered the idea, but like filming a reality TV show with two AI like bots or like whatever, kind of like a sitcom sort of thing, and then just having the two machines like come up with their own dialogue and seeing what would happen, and like them becoming more self-aware. It would be really interesting to like see what happens.
I guess if you guys are cool sticking with the topic of AI, I have a little fun thing to share about like AI written movie scripts.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Are you talking about
I've
Pete and
seen
Patty on
those.
Twitter?
Those are.
I have not. What are those?
Oh my gosh. So there's this there's this program these people made on the internet. I do not know what it's called, but I saw it in a video. And what you can do is you can take text and then throw it in as like your sample. And then this AI software, or like quote AI software, mixes it up, uses the inspiration from the original text, and creates a book or a script off of it. And so you type in like your keywords, like your locations, what you want the plot to be about, and you kind of just write a few sentences, and then it generates a script. And it is the funniest friggin' thing, because like obviously a robot does not know how human behavior works, and it's just guessing based on text. And so these scripts are just these like random horrible movies, but
Like
I
Star
guess
Wars,
this is-
Phantom Menace, and
yeah, those were all generated, you know. It's but I mean, I guess it's
So-
a step in the right direction, because I feel like at some point
the direction being what exactly though?
of like AI created or AI
AI
generated art.
Yeah, and entertainment as well, just in general. So there's a guy on Twitter. His name is Keaton Patty. He's like a writer for like New York Post, I think, and like he's written for The Onion and Marvel. And he did that for a long time. Recently, he hasn't been doing it as much. I'm trying to pull up one right now that would be funny. But he did that for like a few months straight, where he would just post scripts of different ideas, and it's so funny. And he did all sorts of different stuff. Like here's one of CSI Miami, and it's just like exterior, the state of crime scenes, Florida. On a sand beach, we see a lifeguard find a dead body that is dead from routine murder. Lifeguard. I did not guard this life. I am bad at what it is I do. A car drives out of the ocean and sunglasses man steps out. He is the head CSI agent, so he has a head. He sees the body. Sunglasses man. Dead on sands shores? Looks like he put sunglasses on the head he has. Beach body, Miami style. First degree murder? No. 95-degree murder. Hot out. Hot in Miami. CSI Miami. It's so stupid. I won't keep going, but like.
Yeah, so they're basically all just these horrible scripts. But I think the idea and the premise is very cool, because it helps, you know, I don't feel like anything really started off great. I feel like most new innovations in society and culture are like pretty shit, to be honest. And so like, even though it's shit now, like I think within 5 years, we're going to have AI that writes music, movies, creates art that people and itself can judge if it's art, if it's good, if it's not good, why they made it, kind of a thing.
And we actually are already in the age of like AI generated visual art and music. And it's still like sounds different, it sounds off, but you know, it's not so far off where you're like, that doesn't sound like it could be contrived as music. And like there are already genres as well with music that are like all about random generation to begin with. So the fact that like an AI is taking more concrete ideas and themes and then randomly generating structures, you know, you could definitely call it music.
AI government, what the heck, Jacob?
What do you
What a
mean?
weird
It's a
concept.
genius idea. It's gonna
It's-
happen.
I could see it happening.
See,
I
look,
could see it happening.
it all connects. The AI going to take over entertainment industry. They're already secure. They're going to secure that. Bam, going to
Alright.
go straight up to government.
AI AI generated animation or rotoscoping. Have any of you seen A Scanner Darkly? It's a movie based off of the book by Orson Welles, I believe. I could be wrong.
No.
Is it Orson Welles? It stars Robert Downey Jr., Keanu Reeves. What's her name? Winona Ryder, I believe. And it's a movie that came out in like the late 2000s or early 10s. And it uses AI assisted like layering of like images, so like you can animate something and like you film the actors performing and then it animates over top of them to create this kind of like hybrid animation. And it's one, a really great movie, two, a great movie to use rotoscoping for because of the topics, and three, it's just like very visually appealing. But there's this software called EBSynth or EBSynth now, and it's free, and you can actually do like AI assisted rotoscope sort of stuff on your own. So like you can take footage, get all the frames, and then you just have to draw over like one keyframe or maybe a few if you want it to turn out smoother, and then it'll make an animation with your drawing and use the footage to animate it. It's crazy. It would be a really cool way to like get into some weird visual art stuff, and it's very much like AI driven. But yeah, I mean, for podcast listeners, you just have to Google it yourself. Sorry.
So, aside from talking about all this AI stuff, I think we should probably take a step back from the future and talk about the present for a little bit. So we've all been to college. We're all in college, and lately, I've been thinking about applying for internships and all this stuff. But I really feel like us in our like early 20s, I feel like we're all in this strange limbo state of not really knowing what we're going to be doing for the rest of our lives. But we have like some idea, but we're not sure if we want to pursue those. And at the same time, like, we're starting this podcast, some of us are starting streaming, like, we're trying all these crazy ideas. And so, like, what do you think like brings hope through like trying all these different things? Like, or do you want to just bunker down and focus on your career? Like, what's going
on? I just think you should just, I mean, it's like, it kind of, there are some people who could sit around all day and watch Netflix. There are other people who don't want to do that and just want to work on something. And it's like, it's kind of like that. I don't know, just do what you want. Some people just want to do something, they just do it.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
I'm in this weird limbo already where it's like I work on music daily and it's like it's something I want to do, but the realist in me is like, you're gonna have to start paying for yourself, and with where I live, it's like I don't want to be working a minimum wage job all the time to afford to like have a house or like rent, and so it's hard to kind of pick what you want to do for a career that could make you like a stable income. So it's either you decide to focus more time on something like that and continue with college, or buckle down and keep grinding with whatever you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
It's
totally. Yeah. And I think it's like you have a goal for yourself and you can visualize yourself living this life or visualize yourself like aspiring to this thing, and it's the drive that kind of makes you want to do it. And at least for me, it's more like, I'm going to school, I'm getting my education, but that's not really my main purpose. It's not necessarily something I want to do, but it's something that I think I can do, and it's something that will fund or pay the bills for the things that I really want to do. Yeah. I want to have that security. I want to have that thing, where I can have and fall back to and help support me And on the side, I want to be pursuing these other like content ideas. You know, I want to stream, I want to make YouTube videos, I want to do this podcast. I just want to do things that are just fun because they're fun. And you know, there are people who can make a career living out of that, but you're not just going to go from 0 to 100. It's a build up, you know. So
Yeah.
I feel like while the time is being, or while the build up is happening, you know, I want to just have these other avenues that I'm pursuing that could help me along the way.
Yeah, I always try and say it's like we could afford to like we're still young and it's kind of unreasonable to have all our shit figured out by like 20, when that's like a third or a fourth of our life. So I usually just say your 20s, like, you know, you just experiment. You could afford to take risk. It's like you can't just like do the what everybody else does and expect that to work out for you or for you to be happy at the end of the day. And that's all really life is just trying to be happy, you know? And I think that falls in line with what you're saying, Tanner. It's just like, yeah, just doing what you want.
Yeah, it's hard because you have to like, you know, you have to try in order to succeed. But, you know, there's that like drive you do have to like commit to something until it does work out. I think a lot of people talk about if luck has anything to do with it, and I think it does. But in my opinion, I think with like succeeding in like a creative field, I think luck just speeds things up. So like you could still get good at what you're doing at, and maybe it takes you 20 years to be recognized as like, you know, someone who knows what they're doing. But, you know, sometimes you get lucky and you get recognized sooner.
I feel like luck plays a less factor than people would say. I feel like a lot of people who are big today, even like a lot of the content creators, I don't think a lot of them would say that, you know, I just got lucky. I feel like a lot of them would say like I had a good work ethic, you know, I was good at this game and I put out unique content for the time, you know. It might there's some factor of luck in terms of what game gets popular and things like that. But I think the people who make the content, who are even still prevalent to this day, just like are just good at making content.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think sure that there might be some form of luck, but I think it's way more on the creator. You know, it's way more on them. Like it's more on you than just trying to say, oh, I got lucky. It's all about timing and things like that.
Yeah. How do you feel, Tanner?
Yeah, but I feel I agree with a lot of your guys' opinions, and I feel like I'm kind of in that same spot of where I want to try things, but a lot of the time, you know, I doubt myself, and I just want to be like, oh no, like it's, you know, you're just gonna drop it in a few months, like we talked about earlier. It's like we try these things and just drop them. So I feel like a lot of the time I'm afraid to, you know, put in the effort for something that I don't know if I want to pursue. But that's the thing, is like you don't know if you want to do it unless you do it. And there's this really good speech by Jim Carrey called, well, he did this speech for this graduating class back in like 2015 or 17 or something. But there's a video by After School on YouTube called Your Love for Acceptance, or sorry, Your Need for Acceptance in the World Makes You Invisible.
Yeah, I've seen
and so
that.
unless you go out there and do what you love and what you are passionate about, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to stay in this strange limbo forever unless you apply yourself and just keep opening doors.
Yeah.
Like when this podcast thing first came into my mind, I was like, oh, it sounds like fun. I don't know if I'm going to do it. And then, you know, I was like, I know if I do it alone, I'm not going to be able to do it. So then I was like, oh, I need to get my friends in on this so we can push each other and keep opening doors for each other. Because if we're all in this together, you know, we're going to have 4 times the number of doors that get to be opened. And so I thought this would be a pretty good gamble for me, because I know that I drop projects all the time.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And so I'm trying something to put myself out of my comfort zone, especially talking. Like, I know I've said this before, I have trouble like talking to strangers and getting to know people. I typically come off as like very shy, very quiet, and like just a chill person. But when you get to know me, I'm like a little more hyperactive than that, and I like to be weird, and some people think I'm extremely weird, but you guys know me.
I definitely think I'm the same way. It's a lot harder for me to talk in like what would be considered a normal environment, like social gatherings and stuff like that. So, and like meeting new people is hard for me as well.
Yeah, so I think that by doing this, you know, we can invite people onto the show and be able to talk to them, and that will probably help me
Branch out.
with my issues and branch out. Yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
it's all about confidence.
Yeah, confidence is one of those things where you really can't fake it till you make it. You got to put yourself out there, and then you realize after like trial and error, it's like, it's not so bad, but at least you're like trying. I feel that I could relate that to like social media for me, because it's like I definitely on the regular don't post on social media or like contribute online in very many ways. And it's like all of that like anxiety and like putting yourself out there. It's all very challenging for me, and doing it and like forcing yourself to kind of commit definitely helps it get easier, I guess, over time. Stuff like if you've ever done like, if you're an artist and you draw, if you've ever done like Inktober, that's like a great way to get yourself out of your head if you commit and you post every day, because you get through the month and then you're just done and you feel accomplished, and it's like you managed to post 31 drawings 31 times. So
Yeah, like honestly, off of that, it's what I always like to think that helps me with that is like no one's in your way stopping you. The only person in your way is yourself. And to me, that's very frustrating when it's like you want to be successful at something and it's like literally like the only thing that's like preventing that is yourself. Like you're just getting in your own way. And that usually just pisses me off. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this now.
Yeah.
I'm going to consciously stay in bed for 2 hours and scroll through Twitter before getting out of bed.
Fuck myself, man.
Dude, honestly, fuck that guy. He doesn't know shit. I'ma do it.
Yeah, screw the ego, man.
Yeah, agreed.
I hate how
Messes
the
everything
ego is necessary, and yet it affects us in negative ways so often. Like it prevents us from doing so many things, but at the same time we need our ego to make decisions. We need to rationalize it, say like, is this the best for me? And then it could easily get in the way and just be like, no dude, you're gonna fail, you can't do that, nobody's gonna
but
like
you also have to think, like you almost have to be thankful for everyone else's egos as well, because you know, saturation in the market of whatever you're trying to do, if everyone could do it so easily, there wouldn't be a market to, you know, push for.
Yeah, exactly. I come across that in college all the time. I'm like, why is this stuff so hard? And then I'm like, well, there'd be no point if it was easy.
Yeah.
So.
Everyone would do it. Yeah.
Why can't it just be easy though? Like,
You know
it's
what's
not
easy?
fun spending like 6 hours a night on like some dumbass homework. You know, that ain't fun.
No, but
I got work to do, man.
you could watch 6 hours of Netflix instead. That's easy.
That's fun. You know, it's like, why do that when I could just like binge watch some cool shows?
Watch WandaVision. So good.
Let's just spoil all of WandaVision.
No. We won't talk about that yet. We can talk about it when the season is over, and we'll do our recap or whatever, and people will have had time to watch the episodes. But yeah, I actually had that realization recently, just about like not like a new realization, just like a reminding sort of idea that I get stuck like consuming content or like playing games or watching TV, and then I'm like, okay, I just spent 3 weeks like hyper fixating on playing this game and I'm kind of burnt out now, so let's jump on to the next thing. And there's like always more, and there's always going to be more content you can like distract yourself with.
Yeah, it's just when you're in that phase of like, oh, I just don't want to do anything, and you do that, you just get the most unfulfilled feeling in the world, where it's like, dude, it feels like I'm actually like back in high school. It was cool. Like you weren't like it wasn't that big of a deal to do that in high school, but it's like now it's like I'm actually wasting my life right now.
Yeah, because you're like when you're younger, it's just like you're keeping up with everyone and everything. You know, you're staying on top of the trends and keeping up with what's happening in what show, or you've played what game, or what have you. And then now
Totally.
it's like, well, I actually only have like realistically like 30 minutes a day where I can actually play video games. So if I do any more than that, I'm wasting time in some other aspect of my life, which is sad because I have a lot of games I like to play that I could play for a lot longer. Right now, I'm just like limiting myself to one daily run of The Binding of Isaac, and then when I'm done with that daily run, it's like, all right, that was my gaming for the day.
It definitely felt weird when me, Anthony, and Jacob all hopped on the Call of Duty Zombies the other week, and we just played for like hours. And it was just so strange just to sit back and not do anything but play video games again.
But you know,
Because I've just been so busy.
that's okay though. I think there's the other side of it too, where, you know, like self-care is a continuous thing that you should be doing like daily, but you know, life is complicated, and sometimes you go a long time and you've been like working really hard, and it's okay to take like a few hours and just do what you want to do and play video games all day or whatever. Like I see that as necessary as well, because I do stuff like that, and I'll be like, today's not the day. I'm beat. I'm just gonna watch TV and like binge a whole show or something. But you know, it's kind of like risk reward. How much have you actually been working, and how much have you been enjoying content too much? And for all the listeners, definitely stop watching the podcast.
Yep. So maybe that's what we should do right now is, you know, get off technology for a little bit and go enjoy this gorgeous Saturday.
Absolutely.
Nah, I got things I gotta do today.
All right, well, thank you so much for everyone who is listening, and we'll try to make another episode by next week. So
Try.
see you then.
Sounds good.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for listening.
Hello, and welcome to this brand new
Java.
coffee, like specialty.
VR.
Untapped potential porn.
No alternative to the real human interaction.
Full immersion. Very kind of niche market right now, but it's happening.
The AI going to take over entertainment industry. They're going to secure that. Bam. We're going to go straight up to government.
Because they're fun.
You know, you have to try in order to succeed.
I just got lucky. It's more on the creator, more on you.
No one's in your way stopping you. The only person in your way is yourself.
And for all the listeners, definitely